Today, I'll be speaking to you about the pros and cons of gun control. Gun control is a very controversial topic in the US. People have been arguing for and against it for decades, but what do you believe is right? In this speech, I hope to inform you of the pros and cons of gun control so that you can decide for yourself if gun control is a good thing or not. For this speech, I have done a large amount of research, so I believe I am qualified to speak to you about this. I have 4 main points. Homes with guns in them, even if they are stored safely, increase the risk of a violent incident. Most mass shootings are caused by a domestic incident. Gun control won't stop those who are determined to get firearms from getting firearms. And gun control takes away power from the people that they can use to protect themselves from a tyrannical government. Now I'll go into more depth of the pros and cons of gun control. For my first pro for gun control, it is that homes with firearms in them, even if they are stored safely, increase the risk of a violent incident. Humans are special. We can feel emotions. These emotions influence our actions, and depending on the intensity of them, they can drive us to do crazy things. When people are mad, they can lose a little bit of control over their actions. If a person is mad at someone else and they know they have a gun and can use it, they may go and shoot that person. Access to a firearm while someone is going through a difficult time can also increase the risk of a suicide or public shooting. That is all I have for the first pro. However, there are many more pros for gun control. My second pro for gun control is that most mass shootings begin with a domestic incident. According to EFSGV.org, many mass shooters have histories of domestic violence, and domestic violence is considered a risk factor for perpetuating mass shootings. Domestic violence is a common cause for mass shootings, and making sure that a firearm doesn't end up in the hands of someone who has a history of domestic violence would help decrease the amount of gun violence in the US. A common thing that is a driving factor in gun violence is people being controlled by their emotions and doing these awful things. And gun control would help to make sure that firearms never end up in the hands of people who are likely to do a public shooting. While there are many pros for gun control, there are also many cons for it. Throughout history, many governments have gone down the path of gun control, and in the end, many of them became dictatorships. A good example of this is Adolf Hitler. He knew that if the German people could not defend themselves against an army that had firearms, then he would be able to take over easier. Many dictators used this tactic in their takeover, including Stalin and Mao Zedong. Gun control would be going against the Second Amendment that gives US citizens the right to keep and bear arms to protect themselves from a tyrannical government. Having firearms can protect people from danger. Imagine that you are walking downtown in Austin, Texas, and you see someone robbing someone else. If you have a handgun with you, you can help the person being robbed. That goes for any situation that puts yourself or someone else in danger. In the right hands, guns can save people. That is one con of gun control, but there are many more. Many firearms in the US used in crimes are illegally obtained. The government can place however many gun laws as they want, but a criminal is called that for a reason. They will always find ways to get one. Guns are tools. If a bad person has a gun, odds are they will do something bad with it. But if a good person has a gun, then they can protect themselves and others around them from dangers that they may face. According to the Patriot Post, about 90% of all guns used in crimes are obtained illegally, and creating laws to restrict the purchase of firearms to normal people would only give criminals more power, and crime rates would increase. And with that last con of gun control, let's quickly recap my main points. There are many good points arguing for and against gun control. My pros for gun control are firearms in homes, even if stored safely, can increase the risk of a violent incident. That is due to people being controlled by overwhelming emotions and doing things they normally wouldn't do. Most mass shootings start with something completely unrelated to the mass shooting. My cons for gun control are that the Second Amendment gives U.S. citizens the right to keep and bear arms to protect themselves from a tyrannical government. And my last point is that criminals will always find ways to obtain guns, whether it is in a legal or illegal way. My purpose for this speech was to inform my audience of the pros and cons of gun control. Again, gun control is one of the most controversial topics in the U.S. right now, and no one can decide for you if it is good or bad, but I hope my speech was able to help you decide for yourself. Thank you for your time.